Another season of Steam Next Fest came and went. During that time, I got to sample new upcoming games. We have a good variety today, and some of those suit the spooky vibes of October as well. So let me tell you about the demos that I thought were pretty sick. Ready? Let's get it. We'll start with Windblown, an action roguelike. Windblown is being made by Motion Twin, the creators of Dead Cells. While I love the art style for the dreamy landscapes, I don't care too much for the way the characters look in game. Personally, I enjoy the way they look in the promo animations instead. As far as the game goes for the combat, the player is allowed to have 2 weapons and 2 trinkets, although you start with 1. All these weapons share the alter attack mechanic. If you finish a combo on one and then switch to another, you will do a special move. And all the weapons have a different kind of attack. The trinkets are items that you can use in combat, and of course, you have a healing flask, though at least at the start you would have to unlock it. If there's one thing I notice about myself while playing Windblown, it is the fact that I love zipping around. The dash is very satisfying to use, the combat as a whole being pretty smooth too. The weapons themselves interest me, because it seems like they want to have interesting gimmicks that go alongside them, such as the beat bolt. I wasn't good with this weapon, however it shows the potential that they can make really cool, interesting weapons. I did feel like the game was a touch too easy, but I would need to play a lot more of the game for me to have a better opinion on that, which this game is in early access right now. So if you're interested in this game, I recommend you check it out. Windblown as a whole is a fairly polished game already, so I'm sure Motion Twin will do well with this one too. Next on the list we have 13Z. This game will be a hack and slash roguelike, and I've been watching this one for a long time, and I've been looking forward to it. After getting through the tutorial, I already felt at home with the controls and the pace of combat. Even if I got slapped for most of my HP, and got lost in the sauce with combos making me lose, it was still a good time. I'm guessing the characters in 13Z will have a primary attack that you can press or hold, a secondary, and a special move. I'm sure it will also be character dependent on whether or not these can all work in the air. Maybe all their dashes will be different too. And before you start a run, you can equip different weapons, clothes, and relics. However, relics weren't available. 13Z does a lot more with the roguelike element as well, with having a day-night cycle, and events that are tied to it. A good example would be the different bosses that you can fight between day and night. While I did have fun, like Windblown, I did feel like this game was a bit too easy. Funny enough for both games, for the second run of the demo, I was able to complete it. For 13Z's case, I was able to get the lightning power-up for the secondary attack, and it was pretty much curtains for every single enemy, including the final boss of the demo. I'm not quite sure how balancing would go for 13Z. Maybe the devs can make specific monsters to hinder mobility, like adding slows, maybe giving monsters the ability to debuff you so you do less damage, or maybe something completely different. All I know is that the goats with the blow darts were the only ones that were able to do anything to me, and all I had to do was make sure that they were defeated before I fight anything else. I knew after playing the demo multiple times, I found myself enjoying the bosses more than anything. It's just I kinda wish they were able to fight back. Alternatively, there could be modes that will be added later on that can challenge the player in different ways, kinda like how Spiritfall and Risk of Rain do it. Whatever the dev team goes with for making the game more difficult, I'm sure it'll be fine, especially because they're doing a good job so far. Now we have Spirit Strike, a 3D beat-em-up. In Spirit Strike, you can punch, kick, dodge, and block. There's also a break system where if you break the enemy's poise, you can do a strong attack, but you're also tied to it. If your poise breaks, you won't be able to dodge as much and you can't block, only perfect guard. However, it's important to note, if you attack during this time, your meter will go up faster. There's also a system for countering moves properly. Yellow moves need a perfect guard, projectiles need to be dodged, and the red moves need to be jumped. I enjoyed how fast the combat can be, despite the camera being a little bit too crazy. But I won't lie, the boss made me hate hate those systems that were in place because the rewards felt lopsided. Using the counter is the best way to deal with him, as it did the most damage, increasing the stagger meter a lot, but most importantly, it worked consistently. The jump attack liked being weird, and dodging the shield throw was something I did on accident while trying to position myself to counter the yellow move. Because I was trying to be optimal, on top of making sure my break meter didn't drop, I had to play in a reactive way. Getting hit not only makes your HP and break meter go down, but also makes the boss's break meter go down too, so all the work you put in would disappear. This whole system makes it very volatile for the player. I would be fine if the player's break meter only depleted if you dodge or block, but getting hit too? That just makes combat situations a slippery slope if you mess up once. What you have so far could be fun, but I know it's not all there yet. There is actually quite a lot I want to say about Spirit Strike, but I know this game has a long way to go, so many things can change, so I'll leave it with that. I simply wanted Spirit Strike to have the core gameplay down before anything. Now let's make everything a little bit more festive with Halloween. This game I'm about to show you uses Resident Evil, Parasite Eve, and Shin Megami Tensei as its main source of inspiration. Lurks within walls. This game will be a mix of survival horror and dungeon crawling. I love the presentation, specifically the visuals. The monster designs are top notch, but that would be due to Trevor Henderson making the monsters. He is most known for creating Siren Head, Cartoon Cat, and the Bridge Worm. The turn-based combat is very simple to understand. When you select a weapon, you can attack the body part that you want. Each body part has their own benefits and drawbacks. Like going for the head will always give you a critical strike, but it's hard to hit. On the flip side, you can go for the chest, which is always easy to hit, but it will have a low crit chance. The weapons themselves also come with benefits and drawbacks too. What affects your game style is whether or not you decide to corrupt yourself, because you'll be given a new way to attack and get a stat boost. I played with and without corruption, and honestly I prefer being without it because it made the combat more interesting. The combat might need a bit more depth as the options are limited in what you can do. In my non-corrupted run, I wanted to move back as the enemy approached. I had a gun I wanted to utilize properly, but I wasn't able to. Being able to step back, or at least starting a fight with a preemptive strike, would be pretty cool. Maybe also knocking the enemy back would be nice too. But overall, it was a good and short demo. Next up, we have Mandragora. Mandragora will be a 2.5D Souls-like. I remember looking at the game on Kickstarter, and it looked great, but seeing everything in motion's a whole nother thing. Both the 2D and 3D art is amazing. As far as the demo goes for the gameplay, I was only able to choose one class, the Vanguard. As I was trying to level up the character, I noticed each class had their own tree, so later on you can mix classes. And I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about that. However, going back to the Vanguard class specifically, this one mainly uses blocking and parrying for defense with rolling. Offense, on the other hand, uses adrenaline that you have to build. Reaching 30 allows you to do the skill Uppercut, which also bleeds. Exploring what the demo had to offer was fun, and strangely relaxing. I understand that the world's in strife, seeing that I had to fight monster-sized rats, and various demons, and yet there's not so much doom and gloom that a dad can't, be a dad.
You know what one wall says to the other wall? I'll meet you at the corner.
Oh, Dad, please.
Anyway, when I was playing through this lengthy demo, I was prepared to explore everything, but then it showed me the thanks for playing screen and I got kinda sad. If I was forced to give this game a rating out of 10, I would give it a 9.5. It would have been a 10 out of 10, but there were 2 rat bosses. I mean, come on, at least let it shoot poison or something. Jokes aside, I struggle to find any way that this game could improve already. They're already doing amazing work. For the second to last game, we have Mohrta. This one will be a non-linear FPS with light dungeon crawling aspects. I'll admit, this game kinda won me over with the title screen, showing off the music and the low poly look. In Mohrta, you start with a Hayward sword, revolver, and a mana gourd, so you can replenish your mana. Both of these weapons, along with others that you come across, will have a special attack that will cost mana. And you also have a dash. I think my favorite part of the game is the atmosphere, hands down. The music definitely puts me in the mood to explore. I also found the flow of combat pretty nice too, especially as I quickly found that you can do a movement tech. Dashing and jumping allows you to get a lot of forward momentum, so I pretty much use that every chance I got. I'm a sucker for mechanics like that, intended or not. Anyway, all I want for the game is general polish, like having the lighting from the player's light source being adjusted and making some of the animations not as stiff. I like the direction the game is going, so beyond that, there's not much for me to say. And last but not least, we have Hark the Ghoul. This will be a dungeon crawler, and I only came across this by chance. Like Mohrta, Hark the Ghoul won me over instantly, but it was the intro animation. Again, I'll say I'm a sucker for the low poly aesthetic. What can I say? In this game, you'll have the ability to kick to move objects, attack enemies, knock those enemies back, and also give you the ability to get extra height in your jump. You'll find weapons, items, and spells to use, and if you want to dodge, you're going to have to jump or eat some movement speed fruit and strafe, which is how you level up, by the way. This feature is what I enjoy the most, as you can't exactly level past your problems. Leveling up only gives you a talent point that you can use on the tree. In other dungeon crawlers, I'm very much used to seeing RPG stats, but they aren't in here. Your weapon preference is what dictates how you play. You can stick to one loadout the whole time, or you can switch for the occasion. So there's freedom of choice in all points of the game, and that sounds nice. All the weapons that I've seen in the demo felt unique, and had different utility to them. So it would be cool to find something and test it out right away to see if I like it. Another feature that this game has that interests me is the fact that the portrait that you pick is how you look in game, which apparently will affect quest and story beats. Considering the two characters that I've played, I wonder how different the experience would be from one another. The only way to find out is to play the game when it comes out in full, which I don't quite think I'm gonna do that myself. I might play two characters, but we'll see. And that's all I played from the 2024 October Steam Next Fest. I can't wait to see more from these games in the future. For some reason or another, I found myself being in the mood to do dungeon crawling. So playing Hark the Ghoul, along with the other 3 games that I talked about, really hit the spot for me. If you are feeling the same as me, I highly recommend keeping an eye on those 4 games. On the other hand, if you just want to hit buttons, I would keep tabs on the first 3 games that I talked about. So wishlist whatever interests you, especially because it will help that developer out. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.